Hello folks, I'm just having a bit of a move around, yes, and all the other things are out there. I want to do a little bit of work on Phyllis. Is get the bodywork off, hand gestures, and I want to just clean up an ACF 50, the frame, ready for winter, put the cone filter back on, and the crankcase breather filter, because it does pull a lot better with the cone filter on. The other day I was barely struggling to get 45 out of her with the standard filter on. It doesn't like breathing basically, so that's what I'm going to crack on with. It's almost a plan. Annoying thing about Phyllis, which is something you don't see on a typical Japanese motorcycle, but you certainly do with like the Thai built stuff, is that nearly every fastener is a screw, and they go into, these large ones will go into a welded nut on the frame, but some of this stuff, it goes like into like captive nuts, but they fall out because the captive nut backing will rust, or you know, you got to be careful. So one aim eventually was to replace all these screws with like M6 nuts and stuff like that. So that's another plan for the future. But what we're going to do, take this off, take that off, take that off. I think we can leave this on, I think. We shall see. And then we'll be able to see all of this. See, these are awkward. These screws down here are really awkward, and they do, even though I grease them, they do have a tendency to seize. And it just makes a pain in the bum. We can split the fairing. These fairing sides, that's cowl is a separate piece, but the fairing sides can be split. That's one piece. This gusset, that's one piece, and that's one piece. But other than that, they're just a bit fiddly, and then you have to know the correct way to put them all back together, otherwise they don't fit at all. Penis.
A few moments later.
Bodywork gender. You have to take this bit off, which holds that bit on, which holds these bits on, etc, etc. So we're now starting to be able to look at stuff, and as you can see the fairing side split. So what we're going to do now is, this is a crank breather into the airbox, and the pickup for it is actually at the back. And I thought about making a small pipe so it actually exited out onto the chain, which some bikes do. Some of the little bikes do. They use the crankcase vapors and stuff like that as a chain oiler. But all this does is put it into the airbox, and you basically burn the oil off. So the airbox is coming off the standard airbox. Then we can put a cone filter on. Nice. Ooh, press the button. Just thought I'd show you. Made in Thailand. And it has a ride-by decimal of 83, which is actually quite loud. Yes, before we drop the airbox, it's undone at the fairing, dickhead, frame mount. But what we have to do is do 4 screws, 2 either side. This one's really awkward to get to because the mudguard's in the way. I've never had the mudguard off actually. I might completely strip that down, just see what state the top of the forks and stuff are. It might be wise, because I'd like to repaint these forks as well, because they're going a bit furry, and then we can, if we need to, re-grease the front bearings and the speedo drive and stuff like that. This is your little engine here. That's your cam gear for your valves, which turns the cam. It's dead simple engine, just a simple 2 valve. You see the top valve there for intake, you've got your bottom one. I do believe both are set at the same clearances, and then what you have from the crank down here, you have a chain running on a guide, that is the locating bolt for, runs on a blade guide, and then goes around the cam gear. It's quite simple to set up the timing, although I cocked it up the first time. You can only ever be 180 degrees out basically, so if it doesn't work on one, swap it and it'll work. So that's the good thing about this C90s and stuff like this. This is why you see so many people that go on adventures with C90s and stuff like that, because basically almost any garage in the world can fix a C90. It's such a simple engine, and especially if you're in the Far East or the Middle East or anywhere like that, you won't struggle for parts. So this is why a lot of the other manufacturers copied the Honda design. A lot of parts on this are very, very similar to the Honda Innova. They were probably all made in the same mega factory out in Thailand. But the head is slightly different on these. This is the same head as what's on the other air-cooled 125 Suzukis, like the DZs, GNs and stuff like that. The only difference that Phyllis has is that on the other side there's a little port at the side that goes, these are oilways, or at least two of them are oilways, and you have an oil temperature sensor there for the fuel injection. So I've been looking at a 150 kit which comes with new piston, cam, obviously cylinder head and stuff like that, gaskets, gasquets and all that lot. Now the only thing you've got to watch is you need to get the correct piston, because some of the 125s are convex and others had flat. As long as you get the correct piston, it will all go together and work. The only people some things have been saying the only things some people have been saying is that this fuel injection system is quite dumb. Which is understandable. It is electronically controlled, and you can, believe it or not, get a tuning box for it. Yes, I kid you not. But some people that have fitted a 150 kit say, oh, it's no quicker or anything like that. All extra cc's give you on a machine like this is a bit more torque. Your speed is dictated by your gearing. So what you need to do is find the happy medium of how much power you've got, hand gestures, how free revving the engine is and all this lot, combined with what gearing can it pull, because I've tried different sets of gearing on this, and the one that works the best is the factory gearing so far. But I was thinking of going up to 150 and just having a little experiment, and maybe just lose a tooth or something on the back, just so it's less revvy at a higher speed. But yeah, it'll all come to it. Anyway, last year I ACF'd the frame and all that, and it's not looking bad. It will collect grime off the road because ACF is quite sticky, so I'm not bothered about that, because all that will scrub off. Or what you can do, it's not causing any damage because there's a layer of oil there, is just spray ACF 50 all over the gunk, and then it'll soak into the gunk, but the gunk will help it adhere. Who's this, ladies and gentlemen? Is it Uncle Barnyard? I suppose he needs some entrance music. Hang on. No. No, fair enough then. So yeah, that's what I might do, just respray it, and then I wipe off the excess. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be cracking on with. So there you go. Phyllis in her buff. I'm glad I took the mudguard off. It's just 3 screws for the silver part, which is one there, one the other side, one there. That pulls away, and then you've got this inner guard to protect the engine and stuff behind it. But it's the first time we're having a look at the forks, and the forks, the seals and the state of the stanchions are absolutely brilliant. This is just gunge, but what I'm going to do, bit of rust up here, I'm going to wire brush it back, just get it back half decent, like slosh a bit of the old black hammer right round it, or I'll just cover it in oil, either or. But the actual stanchions are absolutely, they're immaculate, not a single pit mark or anything, no oil leak from this fork, so that's good. I'm very pleased about that. But at some point, I may as well do it while it's on the lift, is I'll get the front end stripped out, because obviously I've rebuilt the brake, but other than that I don't think I've ever even had the front wheel out, so it'd be a good idea, whip it out and just say grease the speedo drive and what have you while it's there, and then it's good then, basically. I haven't got to worry about it. And for the state of the bike, actually, there's very, very little rust on it. You expect some on main stands, stuff like that, which are out in the elements all the time, but yeah, it's not bad. It's obviously the bodywork does not a bad job. of keeping the elements off. So yes, overall, very pleased. Isn't that right? As I said the other day, sometimes when you do that on Phyllis, the ignition wasn't turning on, but waggle the steering and it came on. So I've just had a look at the plug on the back of the ignition switch. That's sort of alright. I've given it a quick spray of WD. I've lobbed a load of WD down there, and when I took the main plug connector off, there was a little bit of corrosion in there, so I've tidied that up and put some dielectric grease in there, and then put some dielectric grease down there, all the indemificator connections, and I've just waterproofed that one as well, whatever that is. It could be turn relay. And then I did all these last time I stripped it down. I've watty proofed them, and your throttle position sensor and all that lot, they've all been done. So yes, that's your airflow sensor, I do believe. That's your throttle position sensor, because obviously fuelium injectololium, and this is your combined fuel pump and injector. Yes, it's a very neat little setup, and this is what I was talking about earlier with the like the cylinder temperature sensor type thing, which is the only thing that we'll have to sort out if I change the barrel. Nice. So I'm cracking on with this, and I think that'll do for this one. So thanks for joining us. Have a very good weekend, and I'm going to carry on mucking around for about another hour, and then perhaps try and have a little bit of a tidy up.